Easy to do. And why not? You get access to all of the resources of Toastmasters.org. Those of you who are admin club officers, you should already have this. And it's the same password. At some point, Basecamp will magically show up, and you'll be able to go into it. That's your first homework. Second, keep doing what you're doing. Please do not say, okay, no more speeches for me until Pathways arrives. That's silly. You deny your club some credit, you're just denying yourself skill building. Finish what you're doing. We are not going to turn off the existing system of education until, and your handout is actually changed. It's now May 31st, 2020. Most of 3 years, where the two systems will live side by side. You have ample time to finish a competent communicator manual if you're working on it. If you're on an advanced manual, finish that. If you think you can reach a distinguished Toastmaster, keep working on that. There's no need to jump over immediately, unless you're crazy enough to do it. I will probably jump right in because I'm in a good position to do that. I should. I'm an ambassador. But there's no rush to that. Finish doing what you're doing. Don't stop what you're doing until Pathways arrives. And the last homework assignment really is, I didn't quite specify it here, that's slippage on my part, but you're going to want to have some conversations, most probably with VPE or some other experienced club officer, on the question of when should I go in? It will be a different decision for all of you. It's an individual decision. You're going into a very individualized program, it's going to be an individual decision about where you are. Someone who joins your club in December, you're probably going to say, right into Pathways. That would be nuts to send them into the old system. If you are on the precipice of getting a DTM, which is what you're doing, right? Finish it off. That will be an easy call. Finish it. Those of you in the middle, there's going to be a lot depending on whether you can be a district officer, whether you can get in a club mentorship in time, that sort of thing. You may go in and say, that's fine, I'll just complete whatever educational award I'm nearest and start a new Pathways. So be prepared to have that conversation with, once she's trained, your Basecamp manager. Okay, I've given you a lot to think about. I'd love to hear your questions. Daya.
Well, I'd like to point out that Speak Up has been President's Distinguished every year since we've been.
Yep.
All but one.
Oh, actually, that was 10 of 10, but we've been. Well, yeah.
Oh,
That was only like 4. Yeah, that was
4 months.
like 4 months. Anyway, my question is, what's going to be replacing the Distinguished on the Distinguished Club program?
The Distinguished Club plan stays.
Yes, and how will we achieve points?
There's one difference. This is one I hinted at a little earlier. I'm hoping I'm not giving you any out of the sweats. But the only thing that's going to change for the next several years is how the 6 education points are allocated. Right now you get 6 points for a certain number of CCs, CLs, advanced leaders, and so on, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll still have 6 points, and that will be the case after Pathways is the only thing on the block. For the next 3 years, the dashboard's going to widen out, and it will show how many of the current system awards have been given, recognized, and how many of the Pathways. So we now have 2 points based on CCs, right? If you do have 4 CCs in your club, you get 2 points. There will need to be 4 level 1s under Pathways to get those 2 points. So there'll be a distribution of level 1s, level 2s, level 3s, all the way up to level 5s. The game, this is like playing strategy game or chess or something, is Club VPE and the other officers are going to have to sit there and figure out what mixture of 6 points out of the 12 you're going to need to get the 6. Now I think right away you're going to be fine because you're going to have people finishing up awards under the old system. Where you're really going to be in deep trouble is if almost everybody in the club throws into Pathways right away. Because then they're going to have to hustle to get those level 4s and 5s. But if you have, a number of people on one and a number of people on the other, I think you'll be okay. But that's going to be the game. How do you get 6 out of the 12? Seems fun stuff, really. Yeah, Penny.
So, you mentioned that our meetings will not change.
didn't understand for the evaluation portion, we will not have books, right? So,
My understanding is that you will do one of two things. Either the evaluator will have an electronic device that they have their evaluation guide on, maybe a tablet,
right,
or they could just print out the evaluator's guide.
okay.
There's the choice there. You can get away with no physical paper, but I suspect for a lot of people is that convenience. Just print out the evaluator's guide part, or hopefully the person giving the speech would, as a convenience.
Well, I have a question about the experience of the clubs that have started the pathways in the introduction of gadgets and tablets. How does that affect the? So there's this interest in the way that they order and audiences here without the gadgets. How does that change? Kind of affect the way the meetings go? Is there any report on that?
No, it shouldn't have to.
Okay.
There may be some people who like to get the digital part into their lives, but maybe I'm old-fashioned. You know, I've lost a lot of hair, I'm an old guy. But I'm thinking it's kind of rude to have everyone sitting on a device while a meeting's going on. I would expect there'd be some club folkways and protocols. Maybe you want to lay low on the electronic stuff and just carry on pretty much as you're doing now, and when you go back to wherever you are, go rock and roll digital. I don't think it needs to change at all, and I think most clubs aren't going to. The look and feel of a meeting will be the same. Yeah, Rick.
I assume, and I may be wrong, but most of the people, or at least when I joined Toastmasters, once I understood it, my goal was to get a DTM. It would seem to me that if May 31st, 2020 is a hard drop dead, everybody that's not on the cusp of being a DTM now would just, because nothing carries over, so why commit if you can't get there, would all switch over to pathways. That if your ultimate goal, you might be a CC, and you have a fairly high hurdle to get over by 2020. So I'm curious, is that a hard drop dead, or if you've achieved a certain point, you can still finish out? Because you could end up where all you need are district officer spots.
They're telling us hard and fast. They want, and I don't think they're going to let this be a death linger. I can see, to some extent, moving this to June 30th of that year.
Okay.
I don't understand why they're cutting off in the middle of a Toastmaster year. But they have sent enough communication to our chief ambassador that they really do not want this to be a death linger. They want to eventually say, Pathways is it. They're kind of annoyed that they've got 3 years. They really want to do it sooner. They're really itching up there internationally.
We have enough DTMs in our club that we can hit the DCP with everybody switching over to pathways.
That's true.
Because we can step up as DTMs and say, okay, we need X number of goals and fill in the holes, which I advocate. I think that's the purpose of a DTM, is to support their clubs.
This is a DTM corner here.
Yeah, the whole, matter of fact, this whole point.
Yeah, you're going to have a different club decision than some. Most of the clubs I've spoken to, the vast bulk of the people are never going to get a DTM, have no plans of it. I think only, 15% of Toastmasters ever do.
Actually,
So they'll-
0.05%.
That little?
That little.
All right, well,
That's pretty small.
you're just giving my argument more gusto. Most clubs, in fact, I had some feedback from some of the clubs that said, why are you talking about DTM? We don't care.
Then,
And you could have a different club conversation, perhaps. I just don't think that's going to be a big bother for most of the Toastmasters out there. And even switching to pathways, I don't think you need to be aggressive and shovel everyone in. Let people finish out what they're doing, build some competencies, and then reinforce it with an individualized curriculum.
I think Pathways is a good program. I'd be switching over as soon as possible, especially if nothing carries over.
Yeah. Now, things will carry over in the opposite sense. If someone has switched over to Pathways this fall, say, and they've been a club officer in the past, they don't need to be a club officer again. That credit they can use because it's going in the opposite direction.
It's just the education.
Right, exactly. So if you've got enough education now and you're missing a district office, you may lose the DTM opportunity. But, another question? Jay?
So for somebody who is starting, let's say new